The personal belongings have to be out. A couple of weeks ago, a soldier didn't want to take his wife, so that's a no-go, okay? So everything has to be out. Like I said, the appliances and the furniture has to be cleaned. On the economy, this is a little bit more complex. And the last couple of weeks we've been overwhelmed with all the requests and questions that we decided to start economy briefings, out briefings. And we will hold, and it's not on the slide because this is a decision we made this morning, we will hold these out briefs twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays at 8:45. And we used to have those days for the in-brief, but now we use those days for the out-brief. So soldiers and civilian, they can come to the housing office and we will give them a briefing what is necessary to terminate. And I think this is very helpful. Once you receive your orders, please check your termination notice, check your termination, your lease contract, and check how many days you have to give your termination notice. Also in the past we had 2-3 customers who received their orders pretty late, and they did not have enough time to terminate. So they knew they were getting the orders, but the orders just were not produced. So the customer waited until the last day, and he had to fly a week later. So that means termination was sent out too late. Customer had to pay an additional month of rent. So please address this with us. We will help you and discuss the options you have with you. So please do that. Come to the housing office. Customers moving to Wiesbaden, we have soldiers and civilians. So soldiers is a little bit different. When you get orders to move to Wiesbaden and you would like to stay here in Heidelberg, you need to put in exception to policy to the housing office in Wiesbaden, because once you PCS out of Heidelberg, your OHA will stop. That means you have to have approval from Wiesbaden, a statement of non-availability, that you can continue to live off post. For civilians, yes, you can stay here, but you also need to file the housing office in Wiesbaden. And Mr. Meyer is here, he will follow me, he will address this more deeply. Your hand receipts, once you have the approval to stay here in Heidelberg or in this area, then your hand receipt and your file will be transferred to Wiesbaden. So it will not be handed to the customer. The whole file will be transferred to the Wiesbaden housing office. Kaiserslautern is a little bit different. Kaiserslautern falls under the Air Force. So a decision has not been made if we can transfer the file, the hand receipt and the files. So that will be discussed within the next 2 weeks, and the decision will be made. And we will inform you accordingly. Loaner furniture requests, either off-post or on-post. Most likely you don't need it off-post, but on-post you need to give us a couple of days. We need to have 3 days to put in the request and for delivery. And then the last thing I want to ask is just to keep all your documents. We have so many calls where customers cannot find their rental agreement, cannot find the move-in paperwork. But once you go to the States, our office will not be available anymore to send this to you once you are gone. So I remind you to keep all your paperwork. Like I said, we cannot send it to you because our office will not exist anymore. So once again, off-post briefings we will hold Mondays and Wednesdays at 8:45. And I will be followed by Mr. Don Meyer, Chief of Housing in Wiesbaden.
Thanks. Thank you. Don Meyer, Chief of Housing for USAG Wiesbaden. First of all, I'd just like to thank Colonel DeCoster and the Baden-Württemberg team for allowing me the opportunity to come down and address some issues at this town hall meeting. First of all, I'll start off on a high note. The first thing we're doing is we've taken an initiative and worked it through our contracting office. It was a little bit of a hard nut to crack, but we were able to do it. And we're going to be able to open up a satellite housing office for a 6-month period here in the Heidelberg housing office under the same hours that the Heidelberg Housing Office has now for off-post housing and off-post housing only. The satellite office will provide 2 personnel from our contractor, Aspen, who will assist service members, families, and civilians moving from Heidelberg to Wiesbaden to help them schedule appointments for off-post housing units. There are some ground rules that go with that. As an example, you have to in-process the housing office in Wiesbaden first, and we're going to do that as easy and as streamlined as possible. And the way we're going to do that is you can email us your orders. We will email you a briefing for off-post housing. You can read the briefing. We'll send you a memorandum of understanding that you will fill out. You will send that back to us. We will then in-process you in our system, in EMH, in the Wiesbaden office. We will then send you a certificate of non-availability for the military people. For civilians, you'll be able to go right away to the Aspen office. And we will send that to the contractor, and that's the validation and notification for the contractor down here that you've met the gates that you need to in order to use the services. And then you can go to the Heidelberg Housing Office, see the contractor, let them know what units you want to look at. They will go ahead and schedule those appointments for you. They will block the units in Ahern so that nobody else sees them for that 24-hour period. You can block up to 3 units for a 24-hour period. After the 24-hour period, they'll be put back on the market for other customers. Once you have identified a unit that you want to move into, all of the follow-on paperwork, the contract, the entitlements, whether it would be LQ or OHA, those things will all be done at the main office in Wiesbaden. So this will cut down on the transportation requirement for you to come to Wiesbaden, for you to take time off from work to come to Wiesbaden. So we hope that this service will speed things up for you, help you with your move. But the problem with it is we can only do it for a 6-month period. We can't interfere with the closing of the Heidelberg Housing Office in September. So the target date right now is 1 March till 30 August. All right, we'll put this out on our website along with the times that the office will be there, the contact numbers and all that once we finish doing that legwork with the office and with the contractor. But right now the target date is set for 1 March. That does not mean also that if you find something on your own, that we won't help schedule that appointment as well. If you go to the HSO office, the satellite office in Heidelberg, and you found something on EmoNet or Scout 24, or you saw something in a local newspaper, and you're having problems with the local language, or you're not sure what to do, please go to the HSO office, our satellite office. We will schedule those appointments for you. We'll help you get down that road to get the rental unit that you want. Just be aware of that those units that are not listed in our system in Ahern have not had an adequacy check. They have not been looked at by the government. They probably do not have a government contract, which we will give you a blank government contract to take with you to see if they'll use and help you get down the road to those things that you need to do. It may not have a 30-day clause or something in there, but we will assist you. Okay, so don't think that if you find something on your own that we won't help you. Come to the office, we'll help you book the appointments, we'll help you track down that unit so we can make your move as quickly and as smoothly as possible. What I would ask you is if you have any issues during that time frame that you would ask to speak to a supervisor, either myself or the Deputy Chief of Housing, Mr. DiMarzio in Wiesbaden, and we can iron out any issues or concerns that you may have along the way. But I think we're setting up a good office, a good facility that will provide a good service to the customer and also speed up your move and not take so much time out of your day to get to Wiesbaden. As Ms. Thomas has pointed out, there's one other issue that we'd like to discuss, and that is for those family members, civilians, service members that want to remain here in Heidelberg. If you want to keep your quarters here in Heidelberg, we ask that you submit a request for an exception to policy through our office so that we can stamp off on it. We're going to approve it and say, yep, you can stay in Heidelberg. We will do the lateral transfers of your furnishings and your appliances from the Heidelberg office to our office, and as Ms. Thomas said, we'll take your files, and everything will then be at the Wiesbaden office. The problem with that comes with a personal decision to maintain your quarters here in Heidelberg. You're limited on the amount of services that Wiesbaden can provide you. You are outside the catchment area for our contractor for off-post housing. They will not come down and do a termination inspection with you when you get ready to terminate your quarters. Just don't have the personnel for it, and it is not laid out in the contract for them to come down here and do that. So that will be a termination inspection that you will do on your own. We'll provide you the paperwork, we'll assist you, but you will wind up doing that inspection on your own. When it comes to furniture and appliances, that is also outside our catchment. We have to do a special request to the contractor to do just the pickup, but if you have a appliance that goes bad or breaks down on you, you won't get the 24-hour turnaround service to get the repair. We're going to try to work it in with the contractor. We have to do a special request to the contractor to get someone down here and do the repair, so ProTech will probably not show up on your doorstep within 24 hours as we would try to do for you in Wiesbaden in our catchment area. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell from Wiesbaden. Look forward to everybody coming up that way who's coming. I'll be followed by DHR, Mr. Ira Watson.
Thanks, Don. I don't think this thing is quite loud, so I was trying to speak up. If you can't hear me, by all means, let me know, and I'll repeat. I'm Ira Watson. I'm the Chief of the Military Personnel Division for USAG Baden-Württemberg and Deputy to the Director here. Can I have the next slide, please? Well, I'll continue this. I want to talk about postal to begin with, particularly on our processing the Heidelberg community and moving to whichever Guinea community you're going to. I think you've heard a commander mention that on 30 August we ceased services here in Heidelberg, Mannheim, and that includes postal. So what that means to everyone is that on 30 August you cannot pick up or mail any items from here. A very important note is that 60 days following when we cease postal services here, we are obligated by USPS and MPS to close those zip codes in the system. So what that means is that 60 days after the 30th of August, assuming 30 August will be the closure date for the end date for services, your mail addressed to those zip codes here in Heidelberg and Mannheim will not come into theater. It's very important to know that. However, there are actions that you can take to prevent having any issues with receiving your mail. And I'll talk about those as we go through my comments. Our processing. We understand we're on the timeline. A lot of folks are going to receive orders late or may not receive, they'll receive orders late. And what we're going to do here in Heidelberg and Mannheim is if you attempt to process our postal service center, be it in Mannheim or here in Heidelberg, if you don't have orders, we will still out-process you. If you don't have a forwarding address, we will still out-process you, but I'm going to mention how we're going to do that. If you happen to walk into the Postal Service Center and you don't have orders in your hand, and you know you're going to Wiesbaden, you don't have a forwarding address, we will get on the phone. We will call the Postal Service Center in Wiesbaden and obtain an address for you over the phone. We will give it to you right there while you're at our customer service window and complete your out-processing. Now, you as a customer, you're obligated as soon as possible to in-process the Postal Service Center in Wiesbaden, Kaiserslautern, Stuttgart, wherever that is, to make sure that there are not issues with you receiving your mail, okay? Because they do need a copy of your orders at some point, okay? If we attempt to reach those that gaining facility and we cannot, we will still out-process you with what we call a general delivery address. In other words, you will have a CMR, but not a box at that gaining location. What that will allow us to do is to start routing your mail on the date you tell us you're moving to the gaining location. They will hold your mail for you to pick up through general delivery, which means you go to the window during customer service hours and receive your mail from a clerk until you can process there and get a box. In both cases, it's the customer's responsibility to be prudent, take timely actions, and do not expect that mail is going to automatically show up in your box if you don't do what you're supposed to do. It just doesn't work like that. If you don't have orders, in any case, it's always best to have a sponsor or a trusted agent at the gaining location who can go into that Postal Service Center and get a box for you. It's just like that's what a sponsor does, okay? The Postal Service Center will not turn them around. They will not give them the combination to the box, however, until you show up and physically in process, okay? But again, it's up to you to make efforts either before you leave or immediately upon reporting to your new location to in process at that Postal Service Center, get an address, and complete your in process. And in that way, your mail, if it happens to still come here, we can go in where all the postal service centers have access to a database, so we know where you are. We will redirect your mail. Okay, so if you do what you're supposed to do, it will work out fine. If you don't, there will be issues, I guarantee. Okay, but having said that, the staff here in Heidelberg and Mannheim will do all we can to make sure you don't have problems. But you got to meet us halfway, okay? Please. I'd like to talk about Army Substance Abuse the Army Substance Abuse Program relocation. They were recently relocated from 104 Romanstrasse, right behind Audi Juncker here in Heidelberg, to the Heidelberg Community Support Center at the shopping center, building 3850. Their phone numbers and hours of operation are the same as advertised on the Garrison in the Garrison Service Directory. Just want to let you know they're no longer behind 104 Romanstrasse. That's the Army Substance Abuse Program. They are currently located at the shopping center. We'd like to also talk about ACES, the Army Continuing Education System relocation of services. That's the Ed Center from Campbell Barracks. By the end of this month, February, all the Ed Center offices on Campbell Patton Barracks will be relocated to the shopping center, building 3850. We're going through that process to move right now. On the 28th of February, I believe that's the date, they will close on Patton Barracks, ready to operate 1st of March in building 3850 at the shopping center. Phone numbers will be the same as advertised on the Garrison website. The room directories will be updated in the building, so as you come in, you'll know where to go. They'll be located all on the first floor. As far as the schools are concerned, the University of Maryland will have a computer. They will move their computer lab and the school rack to the shopping center. The other schools, Oklahoma, University of Phoenix, CTC, Embry-Riddle, they will not have a rack at the Community Support Center, but they already have systems where they communicate with their students via the internet, phone, what have you. That's how they will communicate with their students. Any questions specific to the school services need to be addressed to those schools. Face-to-face classes for all university schools will cease the end of the spring 2 term, which is late May, early June. Okay, again, students need to contact the schools with questions specific to classes, the when and where, that type of stuff. But we will continue classes face-to-face. I think most classes at the Heidelberg High School, and there's a location on Coleman Barracks. May, June, face-to-face classes are done. They will continue their online, long-distance classes. So schools end May, June. We will, however, continue other education services such as proctored exams, out processing, counselor services, and Army testing. That will continue at the shopping center until we cease services at the end of August. That is all I have. Pending any questions, I am here to the end. Thank you very much. I'll be followed by Chaplain Day.
Hello, my name is Chaplain Tom Day, and I'm the Garrison Chaplain. I just wanted, you see the phone numbers for our chapel offices on the slide. If you have any questions, feel free to call us. Just some basic information. The Knock-Richten Chapel will close the last Sunday in April, and so after the last Sunday in April, 28 April, we will have no longer have Lutheran or the traditional Protestant service. At Patrick Henry Village, we will close the gospel service also on the 28th of April, and the Saturday night vigil will close. Easter weekend will be the last Saturday night vigil, and after that we'll have a Protestant service at 10:15 and a Catholic service at 12 o'clock until the 18th of August. We will have no vacation Bible school this year due to a lack of personnel and everybody's moving. But on the 9th of June, we will have our farewell Heidelberg service, the Protestant service at 10:15, the Catholic at 12, and the community is invited. You are all invited to a picnic at 13:30 at the park right next to the chapel. That's all I have. If there's no questions, I'll be followed by Major Hissam from the Directorate of Emergency Services.
Hello, I'm Major Joe Hissam. I'm the Director of Emergency Services. First, I'd like to stress that we've had no reduction in police, fire, security services. That includes our IAX office, our police administration, as well as our vehicle registration office. And we have none planned at least through the end of July. We'd ask that if you see any suspicious activity around vacant quarters, that you please contact the MP desk. To date, we've had no issues with this up to this time, but in the past, that installations that are closing, there has been issues with this. So please just call the desk if you see anything suspicious. We have seen an increased number of abandoned vehicles on the installations. We'd ask that you please ship, sell, or donate your vehicle to the MWR. I promise you this will catch up with you. If you do leave your vehicle behind, you will end up in the blotter, and it will catch up with you at your next installation. So please save all of us a lot of time and trouble and take your vehicles with you. Our IX office continues to operate at 2 locations. We at the Central Processing Facility. We are moving our IX office that's in the DPW compound. We are moving that over to the housing office. It'll be in the bottom floor of the housing office. We hope to have that moved in the next week or 2 here. But until then, it will continue to operate at the DPW compound. Our vehicle registration office, up there you see our new hours from 08 to 1600. We do have limited personnel out there right now. We have 2 personnel. Right now we haven't seen any real trouble with the wait times out there. So what I would ask is if you be patient and just understand that we have 2 people out there. They're working really hard, and like I said, we haven't seen any real problems. There hasn't been a real flux of personnel coming in there that it's caused any real long wait times. Our debit machine has been down out there, so we've asked that you bring a checkbook with you or a money order. Just got word this morning that we hope that'll be back today. Hopefully by the end of the week that machine should be up and running. But until we get the word out that it is back, that we ask if you are going out there to please bring the check or money order with you. There's been some discussion as far as when you're out processing whether or not you have to go to vehicle reg if you're going to another location in Germany. We are going to continue to require that whether or not you're going to another location in Germany, you still will have to go out to the vehicle registration office at least to get the stamp, and they'll verify that you have valid plates in the system. Subject to your questions, that's all I have. I'll be followed by safety.
Good morning. My name is Herbert Kahneman. I'm the Safety Director for Baden-Württemberg. And I have a couple of announcements for this year for the Heidelberg Garrison as it pertains to motorcycle riders. As you know, all motorcycle riders, military, have to renew their license every 3 years. So in accordance with this, they have to take the experienced rider course. So this year, that's all that is offered in this garrison is experienced rider courses. A total of 4 of them, 2 in April, 1 in May, and 1 in June. Also, for registration purposes, this, as I said, applies only to military personnel, not to civilians. I have to add this on. For registration purposes, you would still have to go to the air system. It was anticipated that the DTMS registration system would be in effect in October last year. This is not the case. This was delayed to approximately, this is a tentative date now, 1 April. The second piece of information I'd like to put out this morning is that we will have a Garrison Safety Day on the 26th of April. Most likely, as user announced, it will cover GHS training. GHS training is related to hazard communication training, which most military are aware of. And this is a new harmonized standard, globally harmonized standard that's being introduced into the Army. So most likely this date will cover this type of training. That's all I have. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Scawkins. I work at the commissary. At this time, I do not have any announcements to the fact we haven't made any major changes at all. I will be available for questions later. I'll be followed by Mr. Mark Floyd from the Exchange.
Yes, hello. We have a couple slides from the Exchange. One is on primarily the downsizing. I guess I don't have slides. We have a couple of major slides on the downsizing of the exchange. One in particular announcement is the consolidation of our electronics storefront. Right now we have 3 storefronts at the shopping center, and the power zone will consolidate into the annex, into the bookmark section by 1 March. Other than that, we do want to talk a lot about our shuttle program. If you need to find certain items that aren't available in the PX for any reason, we have a courier that runs throughout the region that can help pull that merchandise in. Simply stop by the annex, let us know what you need, and we'll pull that merchandise from a sister exchange if necessary. And that's all I have. I'll be followed by Dodd's representative.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Steve Sanchez. I'm the Heidelberg District Superintendent, and I'll be doing the briefing for our district office in all 3 schools. Our schools are continuing to operate as if they were never going to close. They're offering the full experience for our students all the way through the end of the school year, to include all the events that we normally have during the spring. Our district office will also be closing, and we have schools in 3 complexes. In addition to Heidelberg, we have them in Stuttgart. Those schools will transition to the Bavaria district, and we have schools in Wiesbaden. Those schools will transition to the Kaiserslautern district. If you look at the slide, you see that we have many events coming up at the elementary school. We still have reading night. We still celebrate the month of the military child. We have concerts. All of those things always go on in our schools to provide the very best experience we can for our students. And we still have over 1,000 students here in the Heidelberg community. I want to go kind of backwards on this slide to the very end. The last day for all students is June 7th. That's a week earlier than all the other Dodd schools. It provides the teachers with an opportunity to clear their classrooms and an opportunity for school personnel to clear the school as best we can before we turn them over. And the closing ceremony for the elementary school will be June 6th. And one key date I'd like to have everybody keep in mind, that if you're PCSing, we have a program that's called an acceleration program, where students can finish the end of the school year, especially in the middle school and high school, get their credits if they have any high school credits, as long as they're in school through May 9th. That means they'll do work in advance, they'll take their exams in advance, but they leave with full credit, and it allows families that are PCSing to move on and not have to worry about going to a duty station immediately and putting their kids into school to finish. So that's a key date. It's 20 days before the end of the school year, so that May 9th date is actually a week earlier than the rest of Dodds as well, since we're closing a week earlier. To help our families that are transitioning to the Wiesbaden area, the Wiesbaden schools will come down to Heidelberg on May 15th and May 16th. They'll set up at Patrick Henry Elementary School, and they will register. They'll have representatives from all 4 schools in Wiesbaden, and they will gladly register your children to the Wiesbaden schools if that's where your PCS orders are telling you that you'll be going. We want to help that transition as best we can and make it as smooth for our families as possible. So guidance counselors, administrators will be coming down to Heidelberg on those 2 days. The next slide, for the middle school, you see that they have a full range of activities, from the talent show that's taking place tonight to awards assemblies. March 7th and 8th, we have a middle school Honors Band Festival here at the Heidelberg Pavilion, with our schools from Stuttgart, Wiesbaden, and Heidelberg all performing together. We have a testing window for Terra Nova testing at all 3 schools. Terra Nova is the standardized testing that we give that kind of measures where all of our students are at each year. And we give that testing for students in grades 3 through 11. And we just encourage you, when you have to make sure your kids get plenty of rest the night before, make sure they eat breakfast those mornings. We really want them to do as well as they possibly can on these tests, and to give an accurate measurement of where each child is, and also an accurate measurement of where each of our schools is. The middle school has their National Junior Honor Society induction in March. The week of April 8th to the 12th is our spring recess, school not in session. We have a parent-teacher conferences for all 3 schools on April 19th. And then you see some of the similar dates down below. Students need to be in school all day on May 9th if they would like to accelerate. And the closing ceremony for Heidelberg Middle School is 1 day before the elementary school. It'll be on June 5th. We have a long history of our schools here in Heidelberg. Mr. Brewer's high school was one of the original 5 high schools in Dodge, Europe, and opening in 1945. And so it is the end of an era. We're sad to see it go, but we have, on this slide, you'll see all 3 of the closing ceremonies. In the high school closing ceremony, the last roar for the Heidelberg Lions will be on May 31st. And then finally, with the high school slide, many activities again, as you see, senior breakfasts, baccalaureates, everything in that experience that we've always offered our students, we continue to offer our students. Their data, it's especially critical in the high school because you're dealing with high school credits, and students can accelerate again through May 9th. They have to be in school that whole day. We have AP exams coming up in the month of May. We've got the senior prom in May. Everything that we've always offered our students, we continue to offer our students. Seniors Award Assembly is the day before the closing ceremony on May 30th. All students will take final exams together. We felt that would be easier for teachers and students to make it a finals week and take care of all of that. Baccalaureate again will be downtown in the Altstadt, and then on June 6th, the very last graduation for Heidelberg High School will be at the beautiful Stadthalle downtown. And their final day for the rest of their students will be June 7th. Thank you very much. I'll be around after if anyone has any questions, and I'd like to pass this over to the Heidelberg Army Health Clinic.
Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Smith, the commander of the Heidelberg Army Health Clinic. The slide you see here is our clinic hours. The only change from the last time we met for the town hall is the pharmacy hour change. They are now closed over the lunch hour. I would also like to encourage everyone to, if you have not already scheduled an EFMP screening, Exceptional Family Member Program screening, and you are relocating or moving here in Oconus, please do so with our office. Many of the units have scheduled mass screenings. We are still offering that, and that's a great way to get your units and family members screened for this program. Next slide, please. As we lose our staff to PCS or to reduction in forces, we are drawing down services accordingly. With our final closure date, no changes in that. From 14 June, we will end primary care for our beneficiaries and transition to acute care for active duty and active duty family members only. That care will end on 12 July. In order for us to meet our 30 August timelines and allow our soldiers and remaining staff to move. The timelines you see here are upcoming changes in our services for our clinic. On 1 March, our dining facility transitions to soups and sandwiches and grilled, and we'll maintain the salad bar. Also on 1 March, our ultrasound services will close. On 1 April, our physical therapy and wellness center will close. We will have 1 physical therapist remaining on staff, and we will consolidate the physical therapist in family practice. On 1 May, we'll be closing our dermatology clinic. I know many folks are using our dermatology services. That will transition to Launchstool. Also on 1 May, as I said, the dining facility is transitioning to closure, and it will close its services on 1 May. On 1 May, our allergy shot services will end in Heidelberg and also be transitioning to Launchstool. The majority of our patients, we've done a scrub on that, and the majority will be transitioning on or around that time. So that should be minimal impact for our patient population. Our medical records are transitioning on 1 May. If you have your hard copy records maintained in our Heidelberg Army Health Clinic, we are transferring medical records to gaining MTFs based on unit moves, but no later than the 1 May timeline. If you are PCSing back to states, we do have an exception to policy where you will hand carry your record back to the states. We are asking our units to provide us with accurate alpha rosters so we can ensure a smooth transition of records for those units relocating here in Germany, as well as soldiers that will be moving to stateside or other locations. On 31 May, this is an important date. This is the last day that we'll be able to accept requests for copies of your hard copy medical record. The current turnaround time is averaging 2 to 3 weeks to get copies of your hard copy medical records. From then, the records or the requests will have to be processed through Launchstool. On 1 June, our TRICARE services will have fully transitioned to Launchstool. We'll start that transition as we lose staff in our TRICARE service office in May. On 30 June, again another important date, we lose the remainder of our civilian staff due to the reduction in force. We'll continue to draw down services accordingly, but that is the last day of employment for any remaining civilian staff that we haven't been able to place in other locations. Next slide, please. These are some of our critical resources to ensure effective communication with you. These are important for you to, as you move or relocate or the situations change with your family, that you keep that updated. DEERS is our way of contacting you. So please make sure those numbers are updated, those addresses are updated. If we need to get any healthcare information to you, the numbers are based on what's in DEERS, on our best way to contact you. The Apples is a patient satisfaction survey. Although we are closing, this is an important survey. This is different than the ICE comment survey. This is a survey that you'll receive in the mail from MedCom. If you're fully satisfied with the care, we encourage you to please fill this form out. It brings resources back into our organizations, and even as we transition to closure in Heidelberg, those resources will be brought back into the Launchstool footprint to assist with patient care over here. The ICE comments are very important for your immediate concerns. Fill that out, but please remember to also fill out that Apple survey that you get in the mail. For our TRICARE services, as I said, it's transitioning in May with a full handoff in June for TRICARE services. Launchstool is still accepting retiree enrollments, the TRICARE Plus patients, into their primary care. So if you need assistance with that, please come into our office and we'll help assist you with filling out the paperwork. There is a queue, so there is a wait time, and they're processing them in a first-come, first-served basis. And if you have any other TRICARE issues, the information is here. Sergeant First Class Miller is my point of contact in the facility, and as we continue to transition, this will be an important service for you as we ensure the health care needs are met. And again, I just want to assure everyone that your health care is very important to us. We're taking this transition step by step as we have the staff to support you, and we will continue to meet your needs throughout this transition to closure. I'll be followed by Colonel Kim with the dental clinic.
Hi, my name is Lieutenant Colonel Kim. I am the commander for Patrick Henry Village Dental Clinic. Just wanted to point out some correction on the slide. Clicked the wrong button and sent the unedited version to the first sergeant. So the clinic hours are from Monday through Thursday and Friday 07:30 to 16:20. And Tuesday we have weekly morning clinic meetings, so it will start from 08:30 to 16:20. And the sick call hours are from Monday through Thursday and Friday 07:30 to 10:30. And on Tuesday it will be from 08:30 to 10:30. And for after-hour sick call, please call the AOD desk. It's on the slide. I'm just going to say it. It's 06221 172605. Please utilize this only if you are really, really in pain, because you get better service during the morning sick call hours. I can assure you for that. For the dental appointments, front desk, it's DSN 388-9500 or civilian 06221 338-9500. And for family members and retirees, it's 18 and for family members 18 and over and retirees, it's space available. And we're trying to expand our dental services, so for regular appointments for family member and retiree family member children from 1 to 18, they can call and schedule regular appointments. Finally, for requesting dental record copies, please fill out the DD Form 2870, and I ask that you give us at least 7 to 10 working days, and please submit that the DD 2870 to the front desk ladies. We have phenomenal front desk ladies that gives great customer service. And we're projecting to close the dental clinic permanently on the 28th of June. And finally, thank you for all the services and the privilege that we're able to offer you and able to serve you. Okay, I'll be followed by Captain Barkai, the Veterinary Services.
Hello, I'm Captain Erica Barkai from the Veterinary Treatment Facility. I wanted to highlight the reduction in services that we are undergoing due to staff reductions and our need to transfer equipment and supplies and close our building by the end of June. The last month for surgery and x-rays will be March. The last month for minor sick calls such as ear infections, skin infections is going to be April. And the last month for vaccines, blood work, and prescription and food and medication requests is going to be May. In June, it's just going to be health certificates and heartworm tests. However, throughout all these months, vaccines and health certificates are going to be our priority. So there will be a lot of requests for other things that we are going to have to refer either to other military treatment facilities or to German veterinarians off post. The website on the slide will list phone numbers for both of those facilities. The last day of operations for the VTF will be 26 June. During the months of July and August, there will be a team that comes up to Heidelberg to perform health certificates only. They will not have the facilities to be doing vaccines or heartworm tests or anything else. This is going to be health certificate only. So if you know your pets need to get their vaccines updated, please come in earlier or have them done off post. We do not know exactly how appointments are going to be made or where these health certificates are going to be able to be provided yet, but once we have that information, we will advertise it on the Facebook BW Now page and through the Garrison Service Directory. If you would like a larger supply of medication or food to get you through your PCS, we can accommodate that, but please give us advance notice so that we can get efficient supply to accommodate you. We encourage owners to pick up their pet's record once you have your vaccines updated so that you can take that to your next duty site. Any records that remain in the VTF after August will be transferred to the Wiesbaden clinic. If you know that you may be going to Hawaii, Korea, Guam, or Japan, these locations all have pretty strict import requirements for pets. Some require steps to start as soon as 6 months before entering the country. So if you think this is even a possibility, please contact our clinic so that we can try to start those initial steps so you're not going to have to put your pet into quarantine. Flights, health certificates are only good for 10 days. So if you are not going to be moving until May or June, we cannot make those appointments yet. But once the schedules are released, please call on those first days to try to get on our appointments. The March appointment schedule is going to be released 19 February. The April schedule is going to be released 19 March. The May schedule is released 15 April, and the June schedule is released 15 May. Clinic phone number is 388-9470 or commercial 06221-338-9470. Thank you.
Our service partners and our directors for providing those updates. I think that's a record time. We actually have almost an hour remaining for questions. So at this time we'll open it up to questions from the audience. as well as our Facebook questions. Just one note, I saw a lot of people furiously scribbling on pieces of paper there in the audience. If you do need to consult the slides to get the exact hours or information that you missed, we will have it posted on our website, and we will put a Facebook message today that has the link to that you can go directly to those slides and see all of the information, to include the couple of areas where we did not have the slides up here on the screen. Okay, so we'll start off with some Facebook questions while folks out there in the audience get up their courage to come up and be on TV. So the first question is, will a temporary confinement facility be opened on Rhine Ordnance Barracks while the Sembach facility is being constructed? Or will prison workers continue to work on Coleman until 2014? So this is one of the areas. I told you that the fiscal uncertainties are not going to prevent us from closing Heidelberg on time. But this is one of the areas where they could prevent us from accelerating a timeline that we were trying to accelerate. Our original plan was always to build a permanent facility on Sembach and to have that complete by the end of 2014, and that remains the plan. There was also a plan to build a temporary facility on Rhine Ordnance Barracks so that we could move the confinement facility quicker and close Coleman Barracks quicker. We don't have the money today to do that. So that project is on hold until we either receive more money. If we do not receive money this fiscal year because of the Continuing Resolution Authority and sequestration, then we won't be able to put in that temporary confinement facility. So, you know, our target still remains end of 2014 to be able to have that permanent facility operating in Sembach. If we get the money, then we will go back to the possibility of putting a temporary facility in to try and reduce the amount of time that our confinement facility workers are actually having to commute back from Sembach to Coleman Barracks. Okay, any questions from the audience? Okay, I go to the next. This is an email question. When Heidelberg closes, what will happen to all the furniture and appliances in the off-post quarters of soldiers and or civilians? Will we be allowed to keep or purchase them at a reduced market value? Okay, not sure. Do we have an answer to that from housing? I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. That's a good question. The property is still considered government property. There's still a need for it. So when the civilian or the service member living off post gets ready to either move PCS, the appliances and furniture will be returned back into the housing office. If they are reassigned to Wiesbaden, then the Wiesbaden housing office will pick that back up. If it's not, then it'll either go through your gaining area and then it'll be put back into the CFMO inventory, it'll be repaired and refurbished, and then it'll be reissued out to another service member for use, or if it's to a point where it can no longer be used, then it will still go to DRMO where they do their sales through DRMO. So it goes back to the government.
Okay, so the bottom line answer is we are not going to be selling those appliances or furniture like we are going to be doing with certain NAF non-appropriated fund furniture and equipment that comes out of MWR, because there's still a need within the government and the military over here for those. Hannelore, did you have something?
Yes, it might be sold at the DRMO. So
right, but it won't be sold directly to the person, you know, if they choose to stay here in Heidelberg. Okay, question from, I think, our audience. Is there any advice for civilians who are planning to stay through closure to handle their mail? We will not receive orders and may not know in which community we will find employment. What is the best way to handle this? Ivor, you want to field that one?
I will try. We're going off the premise and the expectation that by the end of August, no one resides in this community. Hence, that means that you'll have received orders to another community. If that is the case, then you receive your mail support in that beginning community. If you get to the point where you haven't received orders, you don't know where you're going, we will work with customers. You need to contact the postmaster, and who can contact me. We work through those issues. We're about 6 months out from the end of August. We expect that we can meet our deadline, but you never know what will happen. But again, at the end of August, if you're not signed here, you can sign somewhere else. That's where you receive mail service. If you don't have orders, but you know where you're going, you can get to a mailbox in that game community. If you are reasonably confident that's where you're going, we can do that. And then, when you do receive orders, you can process, you can complete that process. I hope I answered that. Okay, I think maybe the category that we didn't address was a retiree, a civilian who's not still employed by the government and will receive orders. And for our retirees, they're going to have to make a decision on which CMR APO they go to. The closest one to here is probably Germersheim Army Depot, which does have a limited number of boxes, but you can attempt to switch to Germersheim Army Depot, and it'll be a matter of space availability on if they can provide you a retiree mailbox, because they also have the exchange warehouse from Gießen that will be moving in to that installation here in 2014. So I know today they have approximately 100 mailboxes remaining open, but they can't provide all 100 to retirees because they have to be prepared for AFIS coming in 2014. So I think other options are Stuttgart, Kaiserslautern, and Wiesbaden, or using the German mail for retirees. Anything else you want to add, Ivor? Retirees can receive mail service in any community. It is always space available. It may be scheduled delivery if they're not in that box available, but you can receive mail support in any community for retirees.
Okay. Another Facebook question. With families moving to Wiesbaden in the spring, will we be permitted to keep a child enrolled at Heidelberg High School if they are a senior? Or will we have to wait and move in the summer? Would you like to answer that one, Mr. Sanchez?
They'll be able to keep their students in Heidelberg High School until the end of the school year if they choose. The one thing that we cannot provide if you're in another community is the transportation to Heidelberg High School, but absolutely they can stay through the end of the school year if that's what somebody would like to do.
Right. So if you move to Wiesbaden, but you have a high school senior and would like them to graduate here in Heidelberg, then you would have the responsibility of transporting them to school in Heidelberg. Otherwise, the other option is just as stated, wait and move until the summer if you have that ability to do so. Question on email. Will the Heidelberg transportation for in- and outbound shipments of personal property close in March? No, it will not. We are going down to one remaining employee by April that is employed here by the garrison, just because most of our employees are family members and over time have moved. But we will supplement the personal property office with counselors from other garrisons with the help of the directorates of logistics from those garrisons in order to be able to continue to provide personal property counseling and get folks prepared and shipped for household goods. So anything like that that has to do with clearing, out processing, our intent is to keep it open right until the 30th of August. That way we ensure that we are here to help clear and PCS all of our customers right up until the last day when folks have to move to their gaining location. I know there was some misinformation out there that we were going to close that. That was entirely misinformation. Okay? It will remain open through the 30th of August, and you'll be able to ship your household goods. Okay, we have a question on Facebook. We PCS'd here in August 2012, and we are an Air Force family. Can anyone tell us how to get our household goods moved? Okay, apparently they've already contacted housing, the unit first sergeant, and they require some follow-up. So I don't know if we have an answer to the question today. If they're Air Force in our community, shouldn't they be able to use our personal property office?
Sorry. Maybe the service member can specify the question.
Well, I think they're having trouble finding out how to move their household goods.
We don't have no problem with the Air Force as long as they have orders moving them somewhere, sir. We should have no problem moving their household goods.
Okay. So the answer to the question is go to our personal property book office that's there at the Customer Support Center, the Consolidated Shopping Center area. It's on the second floor. Sergeant First Class Gabriel is our transportation chief. If you go in there with orders, any service, we should be able to help you. Okay, if there's something more complicated that maybe you do not have orders, please also contact our personal property office or contact us directly in the garrison, and we'll try and help you out and figure out why you don't have orders and what we can do to help you in that situation. But there shouldn't be any reason that we can't give you that service out of our personal property office. For families remaining in Heidelberg after the medical clinic closes, will we be allowed to get a 4 to 5 month supply of prescription medication? Rachel, could you respond to that one?
Yes, sir. That's worked on a case-by-case situation with the provider. Typically, that's not the amount that we can give out through the pharmacy. But if they come in and they talk to their provider, if there's any special circumstances or things like that, we could possibly work that out, but typically, no, that's not the amount. 4 or 5 months is not normally the amount, depending on the prescription.
What's the typical amount that's prescribed?
Typically 90 days, but again, it depends on the prescription.
Correct.
And what the instructions from the provider are.
Okay. So the bottom line answer, I think, is that you need to see your medical provider and work out with them certain types of medications. They may be willing to give you a longer supply of medication, but that is not the norm. That would be by exception, and you'd have to work that out with your doctor. Okay, we have a question on Facebook. Exiting MTV Campbell Barracks on Rheinstrasse can be a problem. Can the sensors be aligned to reach all of the way to the left or allow cars to pull up to the right? Does that make sense to you, Major Hisson? Okay. Well, why don't we take a look at this one specifically with the Provost Marshal, go over there and take a look at the Rheinstrasse exit and see if there is a problem that we can work through to make that a little easier for folks. We have a question on Facebook. Why is the Patton Barracks laundry facility closing in March? This will cause hardship for many. Keep it open. I think they're referring to the laundromat over on Patton.
The laundromat on Patton, we did do a survey recently on the number of users, and it's dropped really drastically, so we felt we could supply those customers through our PHV laundromat location.
Right. So this is something that the Exchange came to me and asked if they could close that facility. They took a look at it. I took a look at it with them. If you're a soldier living on Patton Barracks, you have laundry facilities in your barracks. So you should be able to use the washer and dryer in your barracks to do all of your laundry. If you have a larger item, like a blanket or something that you don't want to do there still is the laundromat on PHV. If you don't live on Patton Barracks, a soldier, then you can come to Patrick Henry Village to the laundromat there and get the same service. So this is another example of where we have like duplicate facilities. As we get closer to closure, we're having to go down to just one facility to serve the community because there just isn't enough demand to keep multiple facilities open. Question on Facebook. When will the commissary close on PHV? I think the answer to that is 30 August, but I will look to the commissary rep to confirm that.
30 August.
Right, so 30 August will operate until that point. I'm sure similar to Mannheim, there may be some reduction of stockage as the customers reduce in the community, but they'll remain open till the 30th of August. And that gives them the 30 days that they need to then close and clear their facility in time to have it turned back to the closure team for the garrison by 30 September. We also have another Facebook question, reference housing. Why can't we do our in-processing and off-post housing briefs on the same day, or conduct the off-post housing brief in Heidelberg? This would be easier than making 2 trips to Wiesbaden. So I think what they're asking here is, they live off-post here in Heidelberg. We've established now this off-post housing brief to assist folks with what they need to do to terminate off-post housing. I think they're asking, is there a way they could do their in-processing briefing for Wiesbaden, same time, same place, and kill 2 birds with 1 stone, essentially?
Better than even you can do it from the comfort of your home. If you contact us, go to the Wiesbaden webpage, go to USAG, www.wiesbaden.army.mil, I'll throw that out there, and click on housing. You'll go to the housing page. There's a link on there where you can contact the housing office, either the on-post or the off-post housing office. I get all of those emails. You send me an email saying you'd like to get the off-post housing brief. Once you've been validated that you definitely will be going off-post, because for service members, it's not 100% that you can go off-post. If we have quarters available for on-post, we will look at your rank and your bedroom requirement and make the determination whether or not we can house you on-post. And then if we can, we'll say, well, you're not eligible for off-post, we're going to offer you on-post quarters. But if we do say, yes, you're right, we can't offer you quarters, we'll let you go off-post, then we will email you the off-post housing brief, give you the memorandum. You can read that at your leisure at your home, fill out the memorandum, send it back to us. You don't need to come to Wiesbaden, and you can have we'll email you your certificate of non-availability directly to your email, print that off, take that to the HSO office in Heidelberg for the satellite office, and you can start doing business.
Okay.
Process, you still need to clear your quarters, either off post or on post. So if you live off post, then you need to show that you've paid all utility bills, that the landlord cleared you. And on post is a little bit easier. When the inspector comes to inspect, you get a stamp, and then that's it.
Okay. So I think Mr. Meyer described how they're doing a lot of the in-processing piece and the briefing portion virtually rather than you having to physically show up. On the Heidelberg side, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Thomas, but I believe that out-processing briefing we're providing is for their assistants. They do have to clear housing, but if they choose not to go to that out-processing briefing and they feel confident, they can just clear housing in the normal method without going to the out-processing briefing, correct?
Yes. But yes. Correct.
Yes. I mean, we recommend you go to that out-processing briefing because, they can tell you some of the examples and the trends and what to look for as you try to close out your lease and do your termination. But again, it's not a mandatory requirement that you attend that briefing if you feel you're a pro at this, you've done it many times, and you just want to clear without getting the briefing. Another Facebook question, when will the Heidelberg pharmacy close, and does Wiesbaden have a military pharmacy?
The Heidelberg pharmacy will close for everyone but active duty and active duty family members on 14 June. We'll provide pharmaceutical services for active duty and active duty family members through 12 July when all patient care services will close. And yes, the Wiesbaden clinic does have pharmacy services.
Okay. Will there be continued shuttle service around Heidelberg? Will it be reduced from the current schedule, and when? And I think they're referring to the bus shuttle service that we provide. There will be continued bus shuttle service around Heidelberg. Our intent is to try and to continue to provide that service until the 30th of August. But it will be dependent on our bus drivers. And if we lose bus drivers quicker than we have planned for, or there's issues where we just can't keep the manning, then you could see some reduction in how often that shuttle service has its turns around the community. But our intent is to do our best to keep it operating all the way through the end, because we know that there will be families, PCS and right to the end, that may need that transportation assistance to get to the community shopping center and other places here in Heidelberg. Okay, we've had a lot of Facebook and email questions. Nobody wants to go to that mic right in the middle here in front of the TV camera. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, sir. It's Master C from G2. I just got a question for the housing, because I know you guys are also expecting that right after the school end on June 7, there will be a mass exodus of people trying to go to Wiesbaden. And just for SA, there is an exercise going on right before June 7, and it will go after June 7. So I just want to confirm two things. One, is it true that 60 days prior to your movement orders, you can be on the waiting list already? Is that true, sir?
Yes, this is correct. Once you receive orders, you can forward your orders to the gaining housing office, and you can be added to the waiting list 60 days prior. Yeah, prior of your reporting date.
Okay, another thing I want to confirm is that, like I said, due to this exercise, when soldiers are going to be gone before June 7, and when they come back, they want to get everything settled before they even go on the exercise or TDY. So I was also told that 30 days prior of when you want to get your housing, they will give you the keys to whatever house you decide to choose on. Is that true, sir?
Okay, that's not true. I will tell you this, you can be placed on the housing list 60 days prior. If quarters are available when we place you on the housing list, we will make you an offer. Okay, you have to understand that with on-post housing, when you go up and apply for on-post housing, it may be that quarters in your grade and your bedroom category are available right now, and we'll issue them to you. But that means you now have to clear Heidelberg and move to Wiesbaden. Yeah, you can't have two sets of quarters. You can only have one. So we can put you on the housing waiting list. Now, you can be bypassed on the waiting list. You can ask to be placed on it, and we'll put you on there by your date of eligibility so we can see that you're coming and know your family's coming. And if we have quarters available, you can say, well, I want to wait because I'm going to this exercise, and after I get back, then I'd like to move. And, you know, we'll work with you to try to get through that. But normally, once you get placed on the housing waiting list, we're looking to put you in quarters. And so as soon as we got quarters available, we're going to offer.
Yes, sir, just said, like I said, what the soldiers are planning. I'm not moving to Wiesbaden, but what the soldiers are planning to do is that they can set up their transportation, get everything done prior to the exercise, so that when they come back from the exercise, pack, let's go, and move to Wiesbaden.
How long is the exercise? If you can tell me that. I mean,
it's about 3 weeks long.
Okay, then you should still be able to do that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
But I would,
And is there a report date to Wiesbaden after the exercise is over?
Yes, after the exercise, but you can always report early anyway.
right. I know the orders that they're cutting right now give them the August 30th date with early report authorized, so they can report any time before the end of August. And so we'll work that with them on a case-by-case basis. If quarters aren't available, then we'll issue them a certificate of non-availability. But one other thing that the service member needs to remember, even though the service member's not there, the spouse can still in process and still go through and get quarters while the service member's gone. They don't need an exception or a power of attorney to do that. They may need it for transportation or something, but for the housing, they don't. So they can still do the housing piece while the service member's gone.
For transportation, right?
And maybe I'd have to turn that over to transportation. Okay?
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions from the audience?
Team, appreciate the opportunity. Had a couple questions.
Okay.
Some of our earlier planning meetings, there was discussion about potentially doing a community in-processing brief from Wiesbaden or Kaiserslautern, the main communities, and try to get the plans for what's it take to get into your community out to everybody. Are we still looking at that, or are we going to start to use the the town hall meeting for that venue, sir?
You're talking about either Wiesbaden or Kaiserslautern coming here and for a unit doing a mass in processing?
Yes, sir. Not just unit, but community-wide. So that way, open the door up so everybody can come on in and find out, okay, exactly what do I need to do housing, what do I need to do, to get into the various community resources.
We've been doing that really by unit. I know we did that with a lot of the units that moved to Sembach. We had how many, Don? 4 for USAG. If there's a perceived need for that, again, I'd ask the units to contact us here at the Garrison, and we'll set that up. We certainly are more than happy to do that, and we'll do that at the request of the unit. It will not be the actual in-processing, but it will explain, here's what you have to do, here's where you have to go to in-process, here's what the community has to offer, because I don't think they can transport all of those things that are required for in-processing. But we've done that in the past, and at unit request, we can continue to do that.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Appreciate that. Next one, though, is when it comes to postal. I'm with the TNOS, the guys in Fenari, and we're going to be operating 120 civilians and 50-some-odd military. They all know they're going to get their postal service from Wiesbaden. The problem is driving back and forth every single day to get postal service. What we're trying to find out is, are we going to be able to do something like the old days where you'd have a unit postal representative able to authorize to pick up the mail, and then we would bring it down to Fenari and take care of our people?
I can keep getting to bed, Mike. understanding that that Wiesbaden will provide your meal services. I'm glad to hear that you know that. And the ETNOS employees know that. In regards, we do have, there's such a thing as a mail and postal clerk, mail clerk unit. Put them on a signature card where they can pick up the mail from the Postal Service Center. I have to take a look at that and see if we can do that. If that makes sense to your organization, we'll certainly work with you, as long as that's what the organization wants. But that incurs a lot of responsibility and a lot of logistics to do that every day. So I'll certainly talk with you offline and your leadership if you want to do that, and this is what we can do.
Okay, appreciate it, sir. For medical. Wonderful, sharp class that we had, sexual harassment and assault. One of the things they brought up was the forensics and stuff, our support. I haven't seen that timeline for when that support goes away, ma'am. For when we have a case, we got to bring it on in, do the forensic exam and all that stuff. Is that still being coordinated with you guys, or do we end up going someplace else?
I'll have to get back to you on that one. We do have, excuse me, our SHARP provider, Major Gold, is here through closure. So she's here through August, so past our even care date. So that timeline for transition, because we are losing other staff, we'll have to work out with Launchville, and I'll get an exact date for you on that.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. The other one for medical is EFMP. Is Mr. Page, is there somebody available while he's on leave for this week, ma'am?
He is our subject matter expert, and
Okay.
We are one deep in that office. Major Murder is the provider, so if there is something that needs to happen, we can look at coordinating that. They just need to contact us, and we will get to coordinating that and help them fill out the paperwork or take a look at their paperwork and get them at least started in the process.
Okay, no worries. Appreciate it. And the last one, sir, the service directory on the Garrison webpage. The last couple of weeks, it's been pretty intermittent. Is there something, another resource we can use, or is that something that maybe the signal guys here can help with?
Well, we'll see what we can do if there's issues with it. I noticed just yesterday an issue with it, and it was corrected very quickly. So I would ask, if you ever go on to that site and you're not getting what should be on the site. So for example, what I saw yesterday was you'd click on the site, and when you clicked on the alphabet A to D or whatever, it would just give you a message but wouldn't give you all the service directories.
Yes, sir.
We corrected that yesterday, but if you see something like that, absolutely send us something on Facebook or just call us so that we can get it restored. You know better than I the gremlins that reside in electronics and the web, but we'll do our best to keep that up. But we need your help in telling us if for some reason it's down. We do have a person on the closure team dedicated to keeping that operating and updated. So absolutely, if you detect something, let us know. There are other sources. The reason we'd like people to use that as the primary source is because we know that's the most up-to-date version that our designated closure team people are updating all the time. It's also on page 4 of the Herald Post, the latest in updates and changes. But as I stated earlier, that goes away in April. So that really is your best source, and if at any time you notice it's not up, please let us know, and we'll correct that.
Appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, team. Yes, sir.
I'd like, before you leave, if I can get your information, contact information, because we have to contact the Wiesbaden DHR postal folks, see what they can do to accommodate your issues.
Will do. Appreciate it. Thanks, sir.
Okay, another Facebook question. Will there be personnel at the housing office to help with moves to Sembach as well? So I think the question is asking, will there be a similar service provided like Wiesbaden is providing for off-post folks who are going to be moving to Sembach?
We'll have a meeting with the Sembach folks next week, and then we will discuss all these issues.
Okay. I would tell you right now there's no plan for that because, again, the difference in the Kaiserslautern area, which Sembach is just one site within the Kaiserslautern community, that is Air Force housing. Doesn't mean we don't play nice with the Air Force. We love them 364 days out of the year. When they play Army football, we don't like them. So those 364 days a year we work with them, and you know, there should not be tremendous issues working through the Air Force Housing Office, but they are somewhat different, and they do not provide the same level of relocation services for off-post housing that the Army does. And so they are not capable or willing at this point in our discussions to put a satellite office like Wiesbaden is. That doesn't mean we aren't investigating other possibilities, and we're looking at that if there is some other possibility that we can resource something through the Kaiserslautern garrison with the help of our IMCOM Europe region. But again, it requires additional money and resources, which are very scarce right now. So at this point, no plan in place. If you're moving to the Kaiserslautern community, you have to go see Air Force Housing Office on Vogelway. And we will do what we can to try and facilitate that out of our housing office. If resources do become available, we may be able to do something similar to Wiesbaden, but I would not stake your claim on that at this point, just because of the resource challenges. Somebody's trying to give me the hook here, because I guess we're down to about 10 minutes, but we got one or two last questions I'll try and fit in. Are there any carpools in place for community members traveling to Wiesbaden or Kaiserslautern? What would be the best way to find out or post info? I'm not aware of any carpools in place. I know USAG is running bus service from here to Wiesbaden every morning, returning every evening for their workforce. Some of the other units may be considering doing a similar thing. I think the confinement facility has talked about possibly doing that between Coleman and Sembach. But there are no established carpools right now. What we do have, if folks want to set up kind of a informal arrangement, is of course at our bus stops we have the signs that if you need a ride here internally and you put the sign out, then out of the goodness of their hearts, community members can give you a ride to somewhere else on the community. I know my wife has done that before, and other people as well. Those signs don't have Wiesbaden or Kaiserslautern. We can look, I guess, at if we can establish something that may accomplish a similar thing, but there's none existing that I know of at this point. Anybody on the staff know of a carpool system? Okay. We'll take a look and see if it's possible, but I think it's probably going to be one of these informal things that you try and work out between community members. Did you have something for Sergeant?
Sir, the only thing that I would caution individuals on is if we do establish some sort of formal or informal carpooling where we are putting people on the road daily with soldiers, that we consider OPSEC and force protection so that it's not out there for the general public as we put our soldiers at risk traveling back and forth on a daily basis.
Okay. Any last questions from the audience? As I said, we're starting to get the hook here on time. Okay, well, I can't resist, and my wife is going to laugh at me for this, but you know, the questions have not come up about the reuse center, and I just have to say something about it. Because I know, it was a contentious issue for this community. So I feel it is important that we at least address some of the questions about it. Rest assured that I did look at the petition and reviewed every name and comment that was written in the petition. But ultimately, we had reached the point with the reuse center where it had become a want and not a need in the community. And it is a need in other communities. And some of the comments written in the petition to me about closing the reuse center were in the vein of, this reuse center is wonderful. There's nothing equivalent in our region. I travel from Stuttgart or Wiesbaden to use this reuse center. Well, that's the main point of what we're doing here. The primary reason we need to close our reuse center is so that building can be relocated to Wiesbaden. Just like with the Arts and Cultural Center that we relocated to Kaiserslautern. We are trying to provide those one-of-a-kind specialty services to an enduring location. And so the time has come to do that. And despite all of our wants, to include myself, that is a great facility. People get to reuse items for free rather than recycling them. We all understand that we would like to keep that open to the end, but the building needs to move to an enduring location where it's a need. The original intent of our reuse center was for new people coming in who needed temporary, low, no-cost way to put their home together here in a foreign country. We haven't had new soldiers' families in processing Heidelberg since October. So that original intent, that need, has gone away. That's not to say other people don't use it and it's not a value-added service and a want. But there are communities like Wiesbaden where we do have junior soldiers who have that need and can gain a better benefit from it than our community can for the last 6 months that we have left. Okay? So that's the primary reason behind us doing what we did. There will probably be more things like this in the future that if it's not directly associated with a need, we're going to have to move it along to another garrison where it is a need. So just continue the feedback. I don't mind that people were giving us ICE comments. I have a question here about if we put in all these ICE comments, are you not going to make a change like the reuse center? There are decisions that we have to make that, while not popular and while are a want of the community, we have to make in order to close down. We get a lot of questions, why are we moving so many things? Like the Army Substance Abuse Prevention Office, the Army Continuing Education Service program. We have 10 installations just in Heidelberg that are all going to close at once, with thousands of buildings and facilities that we have to then turn around in about a 6-month period and return to the German government. If we don't clear as we go and consolidate and do as much one-stop services as possible, we will never get there when it comes to turning these facilities back to the German government. So that's why you see things consolidated. And there are some safety concerns as well when you're down to one organization left as the only people in that building, and they're working maybe some late hours. So we want people to be consolidated as much as possible from the aspect of serving the community better for safety and our concept of clear as you go. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone, for coming today and for participating on Facebook. We will have the YouTube clips up as well, like we normally do. We will definitely do another town hall before we close the garrison, but I'm not sure if it will be in this format or not. Depends on the demand out there. It may just be through a Facebook type format as we go down to fewer people. I'd also tell you that towards the end of every month, I do a radio call-in show with Sergeant Tyler Alexander on AFN Wiesbaden, since AFN Heidelberg radio station is closed. So if you have any questions that you want to talk to me personally, you can send them to Sergeant Alexander for that radio show, either on Facebook, or you can call in when I do the show. And the next time I do that is the 26th of February. So please give me a call. Hopefully you don't mind listening to 80s music or 70s music, because that's what we normally play when either Colonel Karstens or I are on the radio show. So have a great Ash Wednesday. Have a great long weekend for the soldiers here on the USAG training holiday, and keep giving us your feedback. Thank you.